Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. XRP price is running right now, and the run started last night around 4:20 p.m. Central Time, which happens to be my time zone. At the time I'm recording this, it is 7:49 a.m. Central Time, Saturday, March 2nd, 2024. So it's been running for a minute, currently 64.2 cents with the 24-hour high 64.9 cents, actually less than a tenth of a penny away from 65 cents. Now, what's fascinating is that in recent days, there's been a ton of analysts calling for just this, noting that these are the right market conditions for XRP to start running if it's going to run. There's been all sorts of perspective. I've been highlighting it on my channel. It was basically a broad consensus from pretty much every XRP chart analyst that I follow saying, not a guarantee, but, knock on wood, this would be the time for it to happen if it's going to go. So we'll see if there's going to be continuation to the upside, no guarantee. And of course, if Bitcoin sneezes, just start everything from scratch. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. I will also note Bitcoin, as I record this, is $61,991. Market cap for the asset class, $2.34 trillion. And here we have the Crypto Fear and Greed Index at 80 out of 100. So it's nice to see the market participants out there in extreme greed. And it's nice that we've seen a string of days lately in a row that are not just in greed, but extreme greed. And I had been noting up until the point where towards the end of February, Bitcoin went on the incredible rally that it went on, resulting in a monthly candle of $20,000, the greatest in history. Right up until the moment that happened, those last couple days or so in February, I noted we'd only seen a handful of extreme greed days and a bit spotty here and there. The first one we had at some point in I think the first half of January, not exactly what you'd expect to see during a blow-off top. Now, the fact that we are seeing a string of these extreme greed days in a row, that's not exactly alarming. If you look back to what happened last market cycle, you'll see that it was just like endless days of extreme greed. So extreme greed actually can be sustained for a rather long period of time. It was just peculiar that if that were going to be the top, why haven't we seen that? And that's just, of course, one metric to consider, but is what it is. So first, let's quickly talk about what might be happening with Bitcoin here. Here you see Matthew Hyland, a chart analyst, says Bitcoin holds $60,000 for longer equals bullish. And he's been saying this consistently for some time. He shared that same perspective on February 29th, and then he shared it again last night at 10:55 p.m. Central Time. He just thinks if it's going to hold here at some point, if it doesn't break, it's going to go. And I will tell you, it doesn't take a chart analyst to realize that the fact that Bitcoin, even to this point, has been holding as high as it has after such a massive run is absolutely incredible. And maybe it does break down, but I'm starting to see more confidence from analysts that that's actually not what's most likely. Here's a post from another popular chart analyst, Dave the Wave, with 146,000 followers on X. He shared this Bitcoin price chart, and he wrote, technically, you'd expect some consolidation, but is Bitcoin achieving escape velocity? It's kind of weird. It seems to be like a lot of institutional money flowing in. But he notes that for those of you looking at the screen, you can see what he's highlighting here. There have been a couple instances in the past looking quite similar, and the degree to which it's taking off looks very samey to him. So, he's not saying it's a 100% chance or even a 90% chance, but he's kind of curious. And I keep seeing more leanings in that direction from chart analysts, which is why I wanted to highlight this. Under any other circumstances, you'd see a massive run like this in pretty much any coin. You'd be like, well, there's got to be a correction now, right? We'll see here. Chart analyst Credible Crypto actually doesn't think so at this particular point. He shared this Bitcoin price chart, and he wrote the following. And by the way, he has such an incredibly high hit rate when he speaks. I am going to listen. He says, Bitcoin looks ready for the next leg. Funding normalized while alts funding is insane at the moment at over 100% APR on most. As long as green holds, and he's referencing the green part of his chart here, for those who are not looking, it's a range of, I'll just call it roughly, 61,000 to 61,600. He says as long as green holds, that range, I think we send it. Longed some more Bitcoins. think it's time to make way for King Bitcoin again. So he thinks it's time for the next leg up, and he's got an arrow shooting to closer to like, $65,000 range. And he does believe that in very short order, a good chance, in fact, before the halving occurs, which would be April 20th, so less than 2 months, Bitcoin's going to hit a new all-time high. Now, of course, in the short term, if this happens, some analysts think that you could see a bit of a pullback for alts, and it'd be funny if XRP finally starts to run, and then Bitcoin goes up and alts tank, including XRP, and then we have to go back into despair. I don't want to hear people bitching about price anymore. Damn it. And then also somebody named Christian asked Credible Crypto, "Hi, Cred. Why do you hold mostly Bitcoin knowing alts would give you more? Is it a more conservative strategy because your large capital you have to protect?" And Credible Crypto had a pretty simplistic answer. He said, "Bitcoin leads, alts follow. Plan is to rotate all my Bitcoin into alts at some point above new all-time highs." And you know what? That's probably going to result in him making a ton more money than he otherwise would if he didn't rotate his Bitcoin into alts. And I recognize that. I'm still not going to do it. I set a rule for myself when I jumped in, and I'm sticking to it. When I make profits that are sufficiently large to me, no matter what coin they come from, they stay out for that market cycle. They do not get put back in. Once we see a major move to the downside, say there's, we're back in the bear market, market's down 80% again. Okay, maybe I'll put like 10% of the back end, but of the earnings, but the rest of it, it's going into preservation mode. That's my deal. Preservation is something that is important to me. It's not just achieving the life-changing wealth. It's about preserving it. And so even though I do believe that I'd probably make a whole lot more money if I didn't do that, it's about what level of risk am I willing to take on. And everyone's risk profile is going to be different. So I'll be willing to put a smaller percentage in once I'm confident that we're in bear market territory, which isn't going to be happening anytime soon in all likelihood. Other than that, the only money I'll be putting in is new money that I'm earning. But other than that, it's the rest of it's going to be invested, it's going to be put to work, and I'm going to be set. That's it. Period. So I'm strict about that, but I do acknowledge that for people, and there'll probably a lot of you listening are going to do the same thing. Yeah, it probably is a good idea, and if you're willing to take on that risk. But if you're not willing, if you're like me and you're not willing to take on that risk, that's the way I look at it anyway. And so when I started seeing XRP running, and this is actually just a couple hours ago, 5:44 a.m. Central, I posted XRP at 64 cents. If you ask me what price I want for XRP, it's whatever price makes the emotional holders stop publicly bitching and freaking out. Because lately the sentiment, I was saying even within the last couple weeks in particular, before we really started to move up a bit, this is the worst sentiment I've seen in the XRP community in years. And again, I don't think that it's most XRP holders. I just think it's a smaller percentage, but they're very noisy. That's the impression I get. I mean, if everybody were that negative about it, I just don't think that XRP would be number 6 in market cap. I think it would be out of the top 10. So I don't think it's most people, but yes, it's very noticeable. It's still the worst sentiment I've seen in years. But I noticed that on days like this, especially, actually, we've been on a little bit of a trend over the last week. I mean, hell, over the last 7 days, up 17%. Over the last 24 hours, up about 8%. So I've noticed there's been a lot less bitching, which has been nice to see a lot less bitching in my feed on X, which I rather enjoy. Look, it's just a matter of time. XRP is a cryptocurrency. It moves in tandem with the rest of the crypto asset class. It has been around for over a freaking decade in the top 10 consistently. There's real people using it. There's real business taking advantage of it, using it on a regular basis. Unless you think that the entire asset class isn't going to run, what the hell is the actual worry about XRP? Of course it's going to run. Why would it not run? That makes no sense. And if I'm wrong, fine, it goes this year. I always say that. It's not that I have 100% conviction, but I do have very strong conviction about this. If XRP didn't make sense, it wouldn't be where it is now, especially after the SEC attack. It wouldn't be in the top 10 after over a decade. There's tons of people, probably millions of people that believe the same. That it does make sense. So it's going to look obvious in hindsight, but like I've been saying, at some point, XRP is going to have its moment where it just breaks to the upside, and it's not going to happen all in one go. Maybe once we see the biggest part of the next leg up, maybe it is finally going to push up above $1. Maybe it is. I'm not making a price prediction, but then it'll level off, maybe come down a little bit. But we've seen that historically. That happened last market cycle and the market cycle before that. It had a big move up, then it stayed sideways for a long time. In the case of 2017, it stayed sideways for about half a year, and then it melted faces to the upside. In the case of what happened in the very last market cycle, 2020, it moved up from about 20-something cents to, in very short order, a matter of weeks, to over 80 cents. Hadn't seen that in basically forever. Went back down. The SEC nonsense happened, but then, about 4 or 5 months later, it's hitting its highs for the cycle. So we have seen that before. It'll just be exciting to finally see the major move up. And it's just, again, I just think people make this too complex. If the asset class goes, XRP's going with it. I couldn't feel more confident about that. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but just being a regular dude, just feed me data. Like, I've been looking at data for over 6 years. That's what makes sense. And we are at this point where it's make or break. So many analysts have been saying this. In fact, here's a post from February 29th from Chart Analyst Cryptos. I actually shared this on the 29th. He said, XRP, are you ready? 2 significant trend lines. 6 years, XRP. Noting that, if it's going to break out, this would be the time to... And he's not the only one that was saying stuff like it. In fact, here's a post from February 27th from chart analyst JD. He said, XRP, will the 6-year trend line finally break out of the non-log scale? After 6 years of those who know what they hold with 1x gain will finally make life-changing gains. And so, again, that was the 27th, and I shared that at the time, too. So the question was it going to start moving to the upside? Well, at least at the moment I'm recording this, the answer so far anyway is yes. Now, you people are in the future. You have more data than me. You know if it went back down or if it's worth way more than what it is at the time that I'm recording this. And it's now exactly 8 a.m. Central Time, Saturday morning here. But he provided this update. This is JD, and this was just last night. This is so shortly after XRP started going, which was, again, at about 4:20 p.m. Central Time, my time zone. 4:20 p.m. And so he posted this 7:21 p.m. and it was already starting to move. And he said, gasp, a breakout after 6 years? Is this for real? If so, this will be massive. And this is what he was looking for. And again, just a couple quick examples to show you. There are tons of analysts that have been looking at this and saying, this thing looks like it's about to go. And especially, what have we been talking about? When you have sentiment in the absolute gutter, which is, from my subjective opinion, is what we've had until very recently. You also have the XRP BTC pair. It looks like it's just horrendous. It's just like the lowest it's been in years. And I look at that, and like the people that don't understand, they're like, oh, they get scared about it. And then the sentiment's in tandem with that. And I'm like, ooh, yeah. I'm like rubbing my hands together. Can you hear? Rubbing them together, all excited that XRP BTC looks like absolute garbage, because I know the 3 previous times that occurred, XRP rocketed. Because eventually that discrepancy is known. XRP's worth far too less compared to Bitcoin. People in the markets know that, and then another person notices, and another, and then people start copying each other, and before you know it, humans they FOMO in and they speculate. Look, humans will speculate on pretty much anything. So if they're going to speculate on Bitcoin and ETH or pick any other coin, you better believe it's going to happen to XRP too, because it is also a cryptocurrency in the cryptocurrency asset class. And if you really think that it's other stuff that primarily drives, I won't say it doesn't matter, like the developer activity, the other metrics, sure, it's great, or else XRP wouldn't consistently be in the top 10. But now that we know we have that, and the asset class is moving, it just seems obvious to me. Here's a post from the blockchain backer yesterday afternoon. He said, seems like a good location for some magical unicorn fairy dust XRP news. And so it would be interesting if some sort of news correlated with the move to the upside. But typically, even if it's not major news, there will be something, and then XRP will be going, and then whatever is happens to be occurring in the moment, that will be allegedly the reason. That's what crypto media will say will be the reason. That always happens. I'd be shocked if it didn't happen this time. If XRP goes and there's not a narrative, what? Really? That would be kind of rare. Usually when XRP is making a big move, there's a reason, whether it's to the upside or the downside. So we'll see. There's also this post from the blockchain backer, and he shared this. This chart is a crypto total market cap excluding top 10 coins by market cap. And so you can see that's what this chart is at the bottom here. The top is just like, I believe that's just a Wyckoff accumulation pattern, just a standard one. And he's comparing that obviously to the top 10, the crypto market cap excluding the top 10 coins. And he wrote, so many videos and live streams made on this. The crowd never changes. It's always that It will never return. But the despair always fades, and the hold hands and sing kumbaya phase always returns. And he's right there. And again, it's true for XRP also, because XRP is a cryptocurrency in the cryptocurrency asset class. To think that it wouldn't apply is completely absurd to me. The only reason we didn't see an all-time high for XRP last market cycle, I believe, is because of the SEC attack. That's the only logical reason, because XRP is the only coin in the top 10 that didn't. And that's just, we're to believe that's a coincidence, or that XRP, if there was something functionally wrong with XRP and it didn't hit a new all-time high last market cycle, do you really believe if there's some reason other than the SEC, do you really think XRP would still be in the top 10 coins by market cap? Because I don't. I think XRP would have gotten the hell out of there, and I would have had to do a lot of reevaluation in terms of how I'm approaching crypto, right? At least for XRP, right? That would be a genuine issue. But he's right here. Like, this is just it. And if you look structurally, I mean, yeah, it looks like the chart above in terms of that accumulation pattern. And which is interesting because in his video yesterday, I'm sure a lot of you caught it, he mentioned a number of things, but let me share with you this post that he wrote about it. Why do we want to see the breath open in the stock market? And then he has a little arrow pointing to the answer, which is every Bitcoin bull run has required it. It's an exciting time. Market caps sit at the same spots as before crypto broke out in 2020, but there are some differences. Cheer for expansion. You may be surprised. And the blockchain backer says that the Russell 2000, which is a bunch of small caps, it's an index, and then there are also ETFs that track that index. So you can invest directly in that, of course. He says the Russell 2000 is right now, and this is what's exciting, it's in Wyckoff accumulation right this very second. And so, and so he notes that, there is not expansion in the stock market despite the, the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 hitting new all-time highs. And given that Bitcoin has never gone on, to run to new all-time highs without expansion in the stock market, either expansion will occur, or if Bitcoin runs to a new all-time high, and we have alt season, then this will be the first time that the phrase "this time is different" is true regarding the set of facts, which would be pretty amazing. So, and I was talking about this back in January too, maybe even December, but I was noting that small caps, they're lagging behind. The Russell 2000 specifically I was talking about. And so it's interesting to see the Dow Jones and S&P 500 hitting those new highs in January. Good to see that, except for it's just a handful of stocks. So that's not really true expansion. That's outside of what had been a part of every single previous Bitcoin bull run where Bitcoin ran to a new all-time high. That's why it's important. So that's why the blockchain backer bringing this up. And I stated this back then too. Like, these are legitimate points to bring up. The blockchain backer is 100% in the right to be bringing this up and sounding the alarm, saying, hey, this is something at least to pay attention to, whether or not Bitcoin does hit a new all-time high. Be aware of this. This is outside of the norm. But the positive news he's stating here is that those smaller stocks entering Wyckoff accumulation. So this is the thing, and I was talking about this literally in January. Not about the Wyckoff accumulation. He pointed that out. I'm not a chart guy, so that's not what I was looking at. But I was looking for historic precedent, and I cited one or two examples where the S&P 500 and Dow Jones taken off to new all-time highs, but then the Russell 2000 lags behind. And then one example I just happened to have memorized, it was like, I think 10 months later, and then it started running to the upside dramatically. And so it can be the case. There's actually historic precedent for it to lag behind. So the fact that we haven't seen expansion, while absolutely a legitimate concern for the blockchain backer to bring up, the good news is, and it seems to me that's kind of what he's getting at here, and this is something I happen to have been talking about in January, is there is a chance that it catches up, and then everything would look more or less kind of like what we had seen in previous cycles, right? My words, not his, of course. That's what it looks like to me. This is the opportunity at hand here. And so, like, I'll just tell you this. I'll feel a lot better. Once Bitcoin hits a new all-time high, I will feel a lot more comfortable, because when that happens, my conviction that XRP is going to follow suit will be through the roof. And the only thing that would kind of spoil that is if there's some sort of black swan event that causes markets globally to basically collapse. Outside of that, and then I wouldn't blame XRP for not hitting new all-time high, but that's the only thing I can think of. But if there's not a black swan event and Bitcoin hits a new all-time high and other alts are going, then I will be shocked if XRP doesn't hit a new all-time high in enterprise discovery. Now, if it doesn't, and fine, of course I admit that's possible, then we're going to have a serious talk in the community about what are we missing here at this point. But to me, it just doesn't make any damn sense because, again, if the market didn't like it, it wouldn't be priced so high. It wouldn't be number 6 in market cap. It doesn't make sense for that to happen. So I'm just nothing but optimistic at this point. This is exciting. I mean, XRP running as high as it is. It's a little bit down now, 63.7 cents as I'm wrapping up this video. But markets move fast. Again, you're future people. You know where this thing is because you're a little bit further ahead in time than me. But even if it goes back down, and even if it goes back down because Bitcoin starts running, okay. Or maybe the analysts that think Bitcoin's about to go into the next leg up, maybe they're wrong, and it does take a dump to the downside, and we see a corrective move. Even if that happens, okay. But we see those even in bull markets. We saw like 6 or 7 of them throughout 2017, which was like the biggest rally in history to that point. With Bitcoin going from like 1,000 to 20,000, XRP going from half a penny to almost $4. Major pullbacks during that time period. So that's not something that's going to be particularly scary to me. It's just everything's moving to the upside. Just about, not literally. Like I just said, Russell 2000's kind of moving side of it, but there are all sorts of markets that are just, it's just all happening, and there's tremendous correlation. It's just the confluence of all this is kind of astonishing. So we'll see what's happening, but XRP's been running since yesterday. Of course, not up in a straight line here, but we could see some major bursts coming up. So we'll keep talking about it. I'll go ahead and wrap up here, though. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.